Now I'm gonna just, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna be free flowing, and I'm gonna let you just go for it. Normally I'm the one like just running my mouth and talking on these in these sessions, but I'm gonna just let you go for it. So we're gonna jump right into the questions. Tonight we are talking about comparison versus discovery. Now this is in regards to self-awareness. So my first question to you, Dr. Williams, is what are some of the vital skills? What are some of the vital life skills that people are missing today in society?
Well, first and foremost, thanks, Chris, for the introduction, man. You know, we go way back, man. I love
Yes,
you, brother.
sir.
Go back from the Better Fan Bruins. So to me, in a question, let me make sure I get this question right. You said, what are people missing in regards to self-discovery? Is that
Yeah.
what you're asking about?
Yeah. What are some of the vital life skills? I know you teach a lot on
Yeah.
finances and soft skills. What are some of those vital skills that people are missing in society right now?
Honestly, I think, I can look at self-efficacy, their ability to feel like they can go out and accomplish a given task, but then that ties into confidence, that ties into thinking that they are a leader. And what the industry like to say, those are the soft skills. So the
Okay.
skills that it's hard for businesses to teach. You can go to school and you can improve on your mathematics, you can improve on learning how to be an engineer, but how do you teach an individual the interpersonal skills, how to communicate, how to work in a team, how to feel like a leader? Those are the things that I think are extremely important that I think, honestly, personally, I was able to gain growing up from a more disenfranchised or a disadvantaged background. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, and even in those, and I'm not going to act like that environment, people just grow up with these skill sets. But I think when you're looking at it, and it's more spiritual, and I think that's what me and you probably really, really feel. It's really understanding that your
Yep.
spirit is greater than your shell or your flesh. A lot of times what we see is that and you're going to get into it a little bit later on when you talk about the social comparison theory. But when I say, hey, I can't jump as high as Chris, or I can't do this, I can't do that. What happened is people start looking at other people and they tend to forget or not see the God that's on the inside of them. So when
Come on
when
now.
you're blinded to just how great you are as an individual, your spirit, I think people tend to miss what they're really put on this earth for, and they tend to miss what their purpose is. And I
Come on.
think we have millions of people that's in a grave right now that never wrote a book, never was in a movie, never became anything great by the world standards, but never great by the God standards that created them. And I think when we really go back to the beginning and really understand what our spirit was really put here for, and realize that our spirit is greater than our flesh or any situation, I think that's what most people are missing. And it's so hard to get distracted nowadays because you got social media and everything that's going on. So I
Yeah.
think that's what people are missing, really looking deep within themselves and seeing that God really lied deep within them and is asking them to do much more than they can ever do when they compare it to other people.
And when you're talking about writing books and like defining purpose in your life, I think the scripture of being fruitful and multiplying wasn't just people. A lot of people take that and they think about it, oh, I'm just multiplying kids or I'm just producing a family. But being fruitful and multiplying is multiplying that thing that God gave you on the inside and making it greater than you can ever imagine. That's why he said,
Absolutely.
I'll do exceedingly and abundantly above all even you can ask or think. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And,
Yeah.
and and Chris, to add on to that, man. So people will say, "Yo, James, how are you on TV? How are you writing books and doing
I
all
had
these
that
things?"
question.
Right? But this is the thing, and I know that you're gonna get this,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, why would I not be on it? And it comes
Right.
off to a person, if they hear it, they say, "Man, that's very arrogant." But think about it. God blessed me with the ability to really feel like I'm free to be limitless, but to live a life that really inspire other people to be limitless. So how does that come into form? Well, for me to say, how can I get the highest level of education coming from a place where nobody thought I'd even graduate from college? Okay, I get a PhD. Okay, I didn't choose this, but it was something that was driving me that led me to do it. So once I got my PhD, I started saying, well, what if I decide to act? And then I just do it so everything that I'm doing is just showing that I can do what I want to do, but hopefully other people are seeing it and saying, well, if this little short guy from Wilson that had all of this baggage and was doing all, if he can do it, then I can do it. Then
Right.
that's what I'm put on this earth to do. And that's how I'm being fruitful and multiplying. So trusting that God put me here for something greater than man's vision, man's temporary vision, and being able to walk by faith, not by sight, then I'm able to do these things that people are thinking is just like, wow, they're so amazing. But hopefully what it's really doing is just showing everybody that the same God that work in me, work in you, and you can do things even greater than I.
Right. And then it'll be something that even outlives you.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy to think about that. You're like, man, everything I'm doing right now is for me, is for my progression. But we got to start creating things that outlive us. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right. Well, let me get to the next question. In your scope, in your industry, and everything that you do, how would you define self-awareness? And what are some of the important thoughts to remember regarding self-awareness?
Okay, so self-awareness, when I look at it, it's like you're taking that introspective look, this
Okay.
deep dive within inside yourself. But then you also have neuroscience that say it's metacognition. So thinking about, so going deeper. So when you say, well, I want to go outside and run today, but you're going deeper. Why do you want to go outside and run? So it's being aware of your thoughts. So, and then what they like to say in Taoism or Buddhism is you basically have this heightened seat of awareness. So when you get upset, you're aware that you're upset, but you don't try to interpret it. So you add more to that. So self-awareness to me is just really knowing, like, why do I feel a certain way without really bringing judgment and reacting impulsively, but being able to still be conscious enough to know that, hey, I'm mad by the way this guy spoke to me. Now, what is a way that I can go deeper and love this person unconditionally and give a more conscious response instead of just being unconscious, impulsive, get upset, fight, bring this anger, and next thing you know, you're like, well, how did James end up and get killed? And you'd be like, well, this guy said F you, and James just reacted and fought him. And people like, well, hey, he was hard, man. He represented and he did this, but he wasn't conscious. Right. That's not self-awareness. Why would you bring that negative energy to this situation? Especially, James, when you're check your life, be limitless, be limitless. It's not saying show love just because somebody is showing you love. It's saying, how do I rise above that? So to me, self-awareness is rising above all of the little temporary things in the physical realm and seeing things from a more spiritual perspective so that you can truly bring that God element that lies deep within inside you. So that's the way I see self-awareness.
That's crazy. Ooh, that's crazy. What was you said it, did you say a theory? What was that? Or were you talking about Buddhism?
So you have metacognition is the neuroscience.
Okay.
You know, so being aware of your thoughts. But then you got Taoism and Buddhism, where it's like, how do you, it's kind of like having no judgment of the situation. And you're able to rise above the emotions to where you're in a heightened seat of awareness. But Jesus did it when he went out to the wilderness and he had to pray for 40 days. So when you look at religions or when you look at Jesus' life, all of those same elements are within you, but you got to be willing to go to a deeper place. You call it meditation, you call it prayer, you call it being mindful, but you got to be able to go to a place that's greater than your emotions. So you're not just reactive, but you can be more proactive and more conscious in those situations. So that's what self-awareness is to me.
And Jesus did it again when you remember the situation when he was in the courtyard and I believe it was Pilate. He was standing before Pilate. And Pilate told him, hey, bro, you got to answer me. I can either release you to these crazy people. I can let you go and, there will be no consequence, but you got to say something to me. You got to answer me. I have power to do that. I have power to condemn you or release you.
Yes.
And Jesus looked at, just think about it, bro, like being beat, being spit on, you just got scourged in the courtyard and you're standing before Pilate. And that unconscious mind is working. Like he wasn't just thinking about his conscious mind. He was in his unconscious mind and saying, looked at him and said, bro, you ain't got no power over me except what is given to you from above. Now let's get this party started because I got some victory to win.
And Chris, I'm gonna tell you something that's deeper than this that I tell people that I really want to have the heart and the love of. When Jesus was stretched out on the cross, they pierced him, boom, right? And they're doing all this stuff talking to him. And he said, forgive them, they know not what they do to me.
Right.
How do you rise above what everybody is doing? All of the hatred that we see going on in this world, we could call it racism, we can call it sexism, all of this stuff. How do you rise above and say, you know what? Forgive them, they know not what they do. I still love them in spite of what you do to me. And once we can get to that place to I love you in spite of whatever you do to me, that's true self-awareness.
A mental stillness and a physical stillness, like all at the same time.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. All right, let me move because we can stay stuck in that. Next question. Social comparison is the idea that individuals determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others, right?
Yep.
So what are some of the benefits to comparison? And then what are some of the dangers of comparison?
Well, I think, we see it all the time in sports. I had to wear LeBron James today. I know everybody I love Michael Jordan, but I'm not into the comparison, right? They're both great. So,
right.
But we see, and let's be honest, we grew up in an era where we had Julius Peppers, we had Mark Strickland. We had some great athletes.
In high school.
In high school. So when you take it, for me, I think the benefits of it when I was younger was I see an athlete like, for me, when I learned to play basketball, the greatest basketball players, and I'm talking about our city, these names mean nothing to nobody, but I'm showing you how it worked for me. I saw Sean McCoy, I saw Kendall, I saw Mike Huntley, you know what I mean? 80 Spate, I saw these guys, and I was like, yo, I want my game to be like them. And I was comparing, like, what are they doing that maybe I can mimic, that I can get my game up to be better? And It helped me work on my skill sets by watching them. That's a very positive. Kobe Bryant, same thing. He watched Michael Jordan. His game was emulated to Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant ended up being one of the best players, but he found his own way to sort of make it unique within that.
Right.
So I think that's very beneficial, and he didn't lose who he was in the process.
That's the thing.
The danger of it is when you see somebody doing something and you're trying to be like them, but it's from a position of self-worth. When you look at a social comparison theory, I'm not valuable. I'm not that good because I'm not like them yet. I need to find a way to be better than them. But you're only looking at one aspect of them. They may be good at being a great athlete, but they may not be a good, husband or wife or whatever. But you're looking at this one thing, and I can't do this, and you're creating a value on who you are based off that. That's when it becomes dangerous. And when you look at social media now, you got kids in school, they like, yo, I need to get more likes. I need to get, 2,000 likes because so-and-so got it. This girl got more likes on her pics. And you just start feeling lower and lower and lower. That's when it becomes dangerous. Right. And I think if you use it to sort of motivate or inspire you to try to work harder and be great at something, I think that's a good thing. But you cannot lose your identity of who you were when your creator created you. Once you do that, I think that's when it becomes dangerous. And that's when I think, you just lose all respect and all value of who you are as a spiritual being.
Yeah, you lose that specific value or that specific reason that he put you here. And then one of those dangers that you were kind of alluding to is like when you see other people doing certain things, majority of the time, we're only looking at their victory. We're only looking at their victory lap. Like when the parade is coming, when they're sitting on a nice car and waving at everybody, but we don't see, just like, if they want to come, like when I started looking into, your story and you're getting your PhD and you writing books, it didn't occur to me, like, now I wasn't arrogant to say, oh, I could just do that, but it didn't occur to me to like count up the cost of how much it took to write that dissertation or how much it took to complete one of the chapters and send it to the editor and it gets sent back 3 times and they're like, no, that's not correct. That's not what we're looking for. Like those types of things, people don't add up. Absolutely. When they're comparing themselves to other people. They're just like, I want what they have in the victory lap, but I don't want to do what it takes to become, to get what they have. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. And listen, everything you said is absolutely right. It's like when you look at, I can take a lot of little things, right? So I got put out of college. Mm-hmm. When I went to Methodist college the first time, I went to play football.
Right.
So I had a 2.1 GPA or 2.3 first semester. And I
That
had a
sound
point,
like me, bro.
you know, and look, then I had a 0.8. I had a 0.8. So I left college. I joined the Air Force. So me playing arena football, people don't realize I was in the military from 99 to 2003. I trained for 2 years and got rejected many times. I mean, went to combines, ran a 40 that was I thought was amazing. I ran a 4.38 and still got cut. So, but this are the things that people don't understand. Or, you know, when I started acting, how long am I on a set? I'm on a set sometime like 5-6 hours. We have to do multiple takes. Or like you said, working on the books. You know, been working on books. The first one like over a year, then the next one was like 5-6 months. Rewriting it, have my wife read over it, have other people read. Like people don't understand the process, but to me, the process is the magic because it's where if you really value the process, you realize you're human and you realize it's something greater that's controlling this. I didn't decide to be on TV. It's this God, this spirit, this
there we go.
This unlimitedness energy or universal intelligence, whatever you want to call it. That's what really drove me. That's what keeps inspiring me. And people just don't. A lot of people don't get it. They think, "Oh my God, you're just blessed." You do. No. I'm just working hard and I'm following what's leading me, and that's it. So, but you're absolutely right. It's the hard work that people don't see. People just want the outcome or the results. But when you're really working hard and grinding, you realize the outcome and the results is for the people that's watching. I moved on to something else. I'm already thinking about something else I'm doing. So that's the mentality.
And then after that, that's when your haters come in.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you gotta love them. I was talking to my barber one day. We thought of this novel idea. So he was like, man, he's one of the best in Ohio, like one of the best in Ohio. Got a lot of.
Look at Chris, man. So I can tell he's good, brother. You look good. So you know,
yeah, he's dope, bro. He got a lot of celebrity clientele, Ezekiel Elliott, all these people. So I was sitting in the chair, man. He was like, all these cats just hating all the time. And I said this to him without even thinking. I was like, the way it goes in society, man, a lot of people are hating on you for where you are, not realizing that you're not even where you want to be yet.
So true.
Like I got about 4 or 5 more levels that I want to go, but you're stuck with hating on me. Like if I could really show you the real picture of what I really want to be, you really gonna be mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was crazy. He's like, I'm gonna post that, bro.
TD Jake said, I heard TD Jake say this more than once, man. He said, every level, there's a greater devil. And to me, when you think about the hate though, man, like I don't know if it's because I'm so high up here trying to continually stay connected with my creator or the spiritual consciousness. I don't even feel it's like a hot air balloon, man. It's like I keep getting filled with this air, this spiritual air. I just don't entertain them or I just don't see them, man. So to me, it's a blessing. And I don't say I feel sorry for them, but bless them, man. You know, they're busy doing their job.
Right.
You know, they gotta hate. They gotta hate. So
somebody gotta hate.
You know what I'm saying? The hate make us great. So it's all good.
Right. All right, let me jump to the next one. Because we gotta get to discovery. And I really want you to tell your story, man.
Okay.
All right. So the next question is, this is a good one, bro. Is social media becoming harmful to self-esteem?
Wow.
And the sub question to that is, as a parent, I wanted to add this in for all the parents that are watching. How do you teach your children about comparison?
Honestly, that's tough. I have 4 kids, man. I have my last 2, 18 and one's 12. So
they ready to go.
Yeah. And I have 2 older ones, man, 22 and one to be 24. So, but this is the thing. I'm trying to think about this as objective as possible because of what we do. We use social media. I like to say that from my perspective, it's not something that really messes up my self-esteem because I don't value it on likes. I I love when I get messages and people say, "Hey, James, keep doing what you're doing. You inspire me." And these are people that sometimes don't even like a post or whatever. But I say, anytime they say that, they're breathing life into God's creation. Because anytime they say that to me, it's keeping me inspired and motivated to do what I do. Because you know, from your perspective, sometimes you get tired and say, "Man, I wonder, are people really, valuing what I'm doing? Should I still keep doing it?" But every time I get that, it's like, keep going, keep
Yeah,
going.
somebody come out of nowhere and like
Absolutely,
donate,
absolutely.
donate money to your cause, or yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, I think they use it for that purpose. However,
Okay.
do I think that, and I'm not going to just say younger generation, I think it's easy to just dump on a younger generation, but I see people our age that
Right.
live by it. They live by the likes, they live by, "Hey, I need to put this stuff out here because now I'm a politician. Now I know everything without researching." So I think some people live for that. And do I think that it help keeps people going in the day just by knowing, "Hey, I'm able to be on a computer. I feel happy because some people like my post." Yes, I do think that's what's happening with some people. And it's hard for me to judge and say if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I wish that people could find value in doing things outside of just social media likes or dislikes and things of that nature. But honestly, I think that it's sort of the way that people have been raised is kind of a part of their DNA now.
Yeah.
Like they just think that they gotta be a part of this thing that is not reality. So
Right.
for me, what I try to tell my kids, because I definitely think my kids got caught up in it a little bit. Well, my older kids, my daughter is not on social media or anything yet, but I try to get them to realize this is not reality. And I say, this is why. I say,
That's
I
good.
got thousands of people that follow me. I said, but I'm just gonna keep it real. I said, let's say I got locked up for some crazy charge.
Yeah.
Um, half of the people would turn against me, and they'd be ready to turn against me, and they'd be like, "I told you he wasn't everything that I thought he was."
After following you for years.
Absolutely. I said, so that is the reality. I said, but my wife would still be there. I said, my brothers would come to my. I said, but that's the reality. I
Right.
said, we use this to spread our message. I
Right.
said, now it's just a medium that I can use to get out the message that God want me to have out. So I said, when you do it, just know why you're doing it. And I try not to harp on them too much and say, look, this is why you shouldn't do it. Because I think what I've learned from what my parents used to do, you end up and push them more in that direction. So I try to let them make their decisions as much as possible. And I just plant little seeds here and there, man. But to answer your question, do I think that that is starting to be something that really determines people value into society and damage their self-esteem? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I try to just to piggyback on what you're talking about. I just try to get. I don't try to like beat my son over the head about it. Now, when it comes to inappropriate material and
Absolutely.
things like that, if TikTok is just getting out of order and stuff like that, I'm like, come on, bro. I just heard 4 cussing words in the last one video that
Yeah.
you watched. So I correct from that standard, but I just try to get, like me and you, we grew up, and I hope I don't jump into discovery. We grew up exploring and discovering everything like
Yeah.
around us, outside, playing outside for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Man, we go outside at 10 o'clock. We might not come back in the house till about 8 till the
Yeah.
sun went down, the
Yeah.
street lights on. You know what I mean? So it's like I just try to figure out how to get him like go outside, even if it's nothing to do. Like go walk halfway through this field and build something. Like start using your mind, be creative, because what it does is it pulls from our sovereignty. Like what you're talking about, all that stuff that you said God has placed inside of us. When we keep putting this screen in front of our face, we're just pulling all of our sovereignty away.
Absolutely.
That is the purpose of God is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and
Absolutely.
smaller, because he called that stuff to be creative and to
Yes.
be expansive. And if we're just stuck in this all day long with our face glued to the screen, all we're doing is learning what somebody else has already put out in the earth. We're
Absolutely.
not we're not putting forth what he gave us to do.
Absolutely. And you can
So
look at it.
that's a
And you can look
that's
at it spiritually, and you can look at it in a practical realm. So that becomes
Right.
idolatry. That becomes our God. You know,
Come
and
on.
then in the practical realm, it's like you're worshiping the billionaires and millionaires that created this, and you're not able to tap into
Mhm.
your $1 million ideas, your $1 billion ideas, because
Or it looks so unattainable.
absolutely. And you think about this scientifically now, we produce anywhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. A day. How many of those thoughts do we lose by just being on our phone, strolling, and we never capture our genius ideas. So to
That
me,
could have been
that is
that
the
could have
scary
been
part.
that $1 million idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's crazy. All right. So we hammered down comparison. If you didn't get nothing from that, I don't know. I don't know where you at tonight. All right. So we're gonna jump into discovery because we're approaching about, let's see what time. We're approaching about 9:40. So I really want to save some time for his story. If someone were to ask you today, how do you, we're into, if you're taking notes, we're into discovery right now. So write this down. If someone asked you today, Dr. Williams, how do you discover yourself? What would you say?
Man, I think the way to discover yourself. So I got this routine that I do in the morning.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in
I'm gonna write
meditation.
this.
Okay. I'm a big believer in meditation. I'm a big believer. So I say some things I'm a big believer in. I'm a believer in meditation. I'm a believer in prayer. I'm a believer in positive talk. And I'm a believer in reading and physical fitness, all of these things. So my routine when I wake up in a day, I like to set it this way. I wake up and I normally get up before everybody else. You know, lately I have been, been a little bit lazy, kind of like fat boy, right? But
Everybody slap.
yeah. But I normally wake up and I say, man, today could be my last day. But I don't just say it; I really believe it, and I say, God, this could be our last ride. Like I really feel like, I'm riding shotgun with my creator. Like this really could be my last day. I don't just say it, so I really believe it. Today could be my last day, and I say, okay, if it is, it's gonna be a glorious one, right? So then I say three things I'm grateful for. I say, hey, I'm grateful for the ability to move my fingers, grateful for the ability to be able to see, or grateful for the ability to be able to hear. I just find three basic things that I can say I'm grateful for. Then I say, today is a glorious day. And for 86,400 seconds, I will give my excellence and my best until I'm laid to rest. I'm abundantly blessed and I'm never stressed. And I say, God bless, right? So
Right.
then I get up and then I always do at least 100 push-ups. So I get down, I do 50 sets of 50. I do 50 push-ups, another 50. Then I walk around, come out, and I sit at my desk and I meditate at least, sometimes longer, but I meditate at least 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then when I meditate, I like to read something spiritual. It could be out of the Bible. It can be some old African philosophy. It could be something out of the Quran, but I want to read something spiritual, and I like to watch something spiritual just to get my mind going. And that spiritual it can be Creflo Dollar, it can be TD Jakes, it can be Joyce Myers, or it can be I like watching this guy named Muji or Eckhart Tolle. So I like to get my mind primed for the right day. So that normally takes about an hour. And then once that happened, I just try to give everything I can today, make sure it's the funnest day that I possibly can, knowing that one day when I wake up and say that, it will be my last day on this earth. So that's what kind of get me going and realize it's not about any identity that anybody created. We get caught up with black, white, male, female, all of these things. But I try to break away from these identities. I talk to them in conversation because it's more symbology. It's just symbology. When I say, hey, you're a black guy, we're just having conversation because we've been conditioned to think you're a black guy.
Right.
However, when you look at it in a deeper spiritual context, there's no such thing as a black guy. There's no such thing as we can get into the whole man. We got masculine, feminine energy, all of these things. But when we normally speak it, we normally speaking it from a superior, inferior perspective. When we talk about man, it's more the way the world trained us to think man is more superior than female. White is more superior than black. So we get caught up in these social constructs. So what I try to do is when I'm talking to you, you're my sensuous spiritual being. I see you as another God body that I'm talking to. So I try to look at it much deeper than the physical form. So I try to stay in that place as much as possible. Doesn't mean you're perfect, but I really try to, you got to go deep within yourself to see yourself more than your shell. And once you do that, you will find your truth. I truly believe that.
Man, bro, that's like probably, if I could define how anybody has ever told me your relationship with God, I believe like what you just explained is how he talks to us.
I
Like he
agree.
doesn't talk to me as the black guy, Chris.
No,
He talks to me from like spirit to spirit.
absolutely. I mean, Chris, you know this. We just said this before we got on the call. It's been about 20 years, man. Like really,
Yeah,
since wearing, playing basketball, at Betterfield. It's been
yeah,
about 20 years. But it seems like I've been talking to you every day
right.
because our spirits are connecting.
Or
And
a
when I'm
line.
thinking about all of these years, it's been years, because this is what happened when you look at the physical form. It's like, how can I trust this dude? I haven't talked to this dude in 20 years.
Right,
But when you look at it spiritually, it's like, this is my brother. This
right.
is my brother, man. Like, this is my spirit. When the identity or the role of James Williams dies, the spirit, whatever that is, we don't know what it's called. People could say it's James Williams. That lasts forever.
Right.
Because what my spirit want to do sometimes is opposed to what my flesh want to do.
That's right.
So that lets me know that it's not about my flesh. It's about what lives inside of this fleshly being. You see what I'm saying?
That's
So
crazy.
so you're absolutely right, man. It's this deeper connection that you're having with God. And I think that's what makes everything beautiful when you're able to see people from a spiritual aspect.
Goodness gracious. Hey, if y'all are taking notes tonight, when you wake up, one of the main things I want to hit on that he said, when you wake up in the morning, think about this in regards to self-awareness and comparison and discovery. Today could be my last day. Now, that's not a derogative statement. Like you're not saying that in a negative way. But think about it. Today could be my last day. The second thing he said is to be grateful. Find something to be grateful about. That kind of repositions your day to not already thinking about the bad things that are going to happen at work or the bad things that might happen in family. You're being grateful, number one. Number three is exercise. Do something to get those endorphins going and moving. He said 100 push-ups. That's just what he does. Then he said he meditates and then he reads something or listens to something biblical or motivating. So if you're taking notes, number one, say that today could be your last day. Be grateful, do some exercise and meditate, and then put some information inside of you that you can carry and chew on the rest of the day. All right, Dr. Williams, next question. In regards to discovery, all right, so in terms of discovery and new knowledge that you're always attaining every day, what's something that you are actually studying right now that just could enlighten us, or if you could just give us the topic of it so we can write it down? What's something that you're studying right now?
So I normally read books on psychology, leadership, neuroscience. I'm real big on that. However, my wife bought this dollar book. So I read this book before. It was called How We Are, which is a psychology book. Yeah, and it's just basically talking about seeing ourselves more in a spiritual aspect and less of these identity roles that we have been defined or society has created for us. But another book I'm reading right now is called it's deep diving, like free diving, like this sport to where these people like dive 120 meters in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how it's a spiritual connection, knowing that they can die, knowing that it's like it's bringing them closer to God and seeing just how small they are in comparison to this vast ocean. Yeah, so it's a book that's kind of it's inspirational, but it has a spiritual connection to it or component to it. And I've been very fascinated because, as you get older, I'm 40 now, you start really seeing your mortality. Yeah, you start seeing your mortality more, right?
Yeah.
And I look at death a little different than what I used to look at it. It's kind of like, not Apostle Paul, King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, we should celebrate when people die. I look at death as a glorious event. I really don't think it's going to be, I think when you look at what happens to the body You
Mhm.
know, the people that's still alive, they may judge death a certain way, but
Right.
I think death is a glorious event or a spiritual thing that most people tend to experience in a different level than what I thought, more pleasurable level than what I thought when I was a younger kid. And I know that may sound weird, but I just think if God created this great world and we're able to enjoy these pleasures while we're alive, and I don't believe you ever die spiritually. When you exit this earth, I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as what people think. I
Yeah.
think for us to stand back and judge it, I think we're going to always look at death as something that we don't want it to happen because we're so selfish. We don't
Right.
want our
Right.
loved ones or our friends to die or leave this earth. But everybody has to exit this earth. It's just the way it is. So this book kind of just gets you to look at it in a different
And
context.
that's called deep diving.
Yes, it's deep diving. I got the book somewhere over there. But it's if I go to my Goodreads, I can let you know exactly what the name is.
It's okay.
Sometimes I'm not even
We'll
gonna lie to
post
you.
it. We'll post it in the notes
All right, definitely,
later.
definitely.
And the other one was how we are.
Yeah, how we are. How
Okay.
we are. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to bring up because we're so focused on the body and how somebody dies. And I get it. You've been
Yeah.
with that person for so long. You know, when in regards to cancer, in regards to tragedies, in regards to car accidents, or you know, just a lot of things that are in the news right now. You look at it and you were like, "Oh my God, that happened to his body." But the spiritual view.
My wife just brought it out. It's
Oh,
called One
you
Breath.
got it. Okay.
Yeah, One Breath. Yeah.
One breath. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. And that's by.
It's by Adam Skolnick.
Okay.
And it's about free diving. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got to get to this question because we're at 9:48 and we got to wrap up at 10. The last question, man, how do people find purpose? And you kind of talked about that already, but I want you to get into telling people your story, more so specifically in regards to the book from Thug the Scholar. So if you just a timeline, kind of take us through your story. You talked about a little bit about college, but kind of your upbringing and what got you to this point.
So Chris, what I really think it happened. So and I will tie this and I'll try to make sure it's quick so we stay within that.
Okay.
The whole purpose of my company is called Unmasked YTP, and it stands for Unmask Your True Potential. So when we look at it and we talk about this movement of James from Thug the Scholar, when I was born James Cromell. So my father, Richard Cromell, and me and my twin brother Mac, you know Mac and
Yeah,
Dion,
Mac.
all Cremells, right?
Killed me in ball, bro.
Yeah, Mac, he was nice. But anyway, so we were Cremells, and when I was about 2 years old, he left. So I really didn't have a good relationship with him or anything of that nature. And when my mom married a great man, I look at him as my dad, Jimmy Williams.
Okay.
All of a sudden, we came home from school one day, and it was like, your father, your real dad doesn't want you anymore, signing over your rights. Boom. So that was the whole conversation. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, I got this great guy, my father, Jimmy Williams. This is my dad. But a little part of me was like, why do my real dad not want me no more?
Yeah,
so
man.
it was this like you didn't really want to have these discussions, and we didn't really have these discussions as kids with our parents at that time. But it was something in the back of me that I was always chasing. Right. So when we lived in Fall River, Massachusetts at the time, I was real little. I started getting in fights, and like when I was 5 years old. And my older brother, I love him to death, but he would have these little events where me and Mac had to fight, and Mac was never the fighter. So I ended up fighting a lot of the fights. And it was like you fought so much that I just thought it was normal. Right. You know, and the fear that I used to have with fighting, it turned into, this is sport, man. I got to be tough. Or when they're, rubbing you on your head like, man, yo, you was ever to fight, it made me feel good. And I can't explain that feeling, but it was always, I was chasing something. Kind of like how these kids are chasing the likes on social media, right? And I wanted to be like my big brother. My big brother, I thought he looked good. The girls liked him. He was tough. And I always wanted a little bit of that. And I felt like if I do enough of it, my father that left, he's going to recognize me. Wow. So I carried this thing that I was chasing, when I went to elementary school, when we moved back to North Carolina, I'm getting into more fights. I wanted to lose my virginity because people were saying that, James is gay. He don't want to have sex. And, growing up, man, you didn't want to be.
That was everything. Your rep was everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I lost my virginity at the age of 12. Started selling crack a little while, hanging out with some guys around Trade and Emico. So doing all of these things, and I felt like, man, this is gonna make me look tough, but it never gave me the love that I really thought I was getting. Like I was getting people to say, "Yo, James is this," but I still felt like I was missing something. So I started wearing this mask tighter, getting with more girls. Had 2 kids before I got out of high school, but I was a great athlete. So being a good football player and good basketball player, I felt like that would still make me feel good, but it wasn't really who I was meant to be. So I kept wearing this mask, and then my grades wasn't good enough because I ran away from home, dropped out of school for a little bit. So when I did that, I actually flunked 2 classes my junior year. Mm-hmm. And when I came back to school, Coach Johnson was able to talk to some people, the teachers. So I had to do 2 posters. And when I did the 2 posters, it allowed me to pass with a D, but my GPA was shot. So I'm getting recruited by East Carolina and West Virginia University and Fayetteville State, but I didn't have the scores high enough to get a scholarship. So I went to Methodist College, and I'm like, I'm gonna dominate. I'm a Division I recruit. I'm gonna dominate here in football, and it didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, I didn't know what to do. So I started hanging with the Bloods, man, and these dudes that was Bloods. And we was out one night in Fayetteville, man, and almost shot somebody. And that's what changed my life. When I literally almost shot this guy in Durham, I was sitting there like, yo, how did I get to this place? Like, who am I? Like, I'm not this thug. Why am I being this? And I realized I was wearing a mask. And when I joined the Air Force, I said, I'm going to do everything that's not J-Rock. I'm not J-Rock. I'm not a football player. I'm not a thug. I'm not going to be like Tupac. I wanted to be like Tupac. I said, I'm not none of this stuff. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to find out who I am. And when I met my wife and I met Sergeant Chapman and Sergeant Prosper and just these other people, Sergeant Sally, that helped motivate me to be a better person, man, I started pursuing it. And when I found learning, I fell in love with education. I became like Albert Einstein said. He said, I wasn't born with a lot of talent, but I was passionately curious. And when I became curious about learning things, it's like education just took me to a whole nother level. And then I started having this, when I got Airman of the Year and these awards, I just started feeling like I could do anything. And once I got that belief in me, I thought I could write books. I thought I can act. I thought I can get my PhD. And I just kept going, man. And next thing you know, I'm just doing all these things and I'm just living this limitless life with no mask. So that's the whole concept. I felt like I was wearing a mask, trying to be somebody I'm not. Same thing with these girls going to school, getting up with these guys. They don't want to sleep with all those guys. Some of them don't want to be getting drunk at frat parties or, get drunk at parties in general, but they're doing it because they think that's what they got to do to fit in. And I think why I'm put here and why you have your platform is to let them know that you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You got something great on the inside of you. So let that mask go and really walk in your truth and own it. And you can be what it is that, God intended for you to be.
Man, that's crazy. From a fault, and basically when you're in that thug lifestyle, that's the lifestyle of a follower.
Absolutely.
A scholar now to a lifestyle where you're teaching and you're mentoring and you're helping. Because at the end of the day, if you can't find purpose, and I just want to say this to everybody out there, if you can't find that thing that you feel like you're supposed to do, your purpose is to help.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, your purpose is to help somebody, whether it's your kids, whether it's your grandparents, whether it's your mom, whether it's your siblings, your purpose is to help. And man, like that, this is enlightening to me because when we were coming up in school, I just knew the star athlete, James Williams. I didn't know all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you, like, there's a story behind every single person. And if we start connecting through our spirit and not just what we think we see in somebody's life, then we can be more knowledgeable of that person.
Absolutely.
But man, tonight, and I hate to wrap it up, but we gotta wrap it up. Tonight has been amazing. We're gonna have Dr. James Williams back again. We're gonna get into some more juicier topics.